Hi guys, it's Mandy from Mandyleeplays, and have you heard of Final Fantasy? What about Persona? Oh, and Dragon Quest? Those are like the top 3 pillars of the JRPG genre. Even people outside the genre know what these series are, which is a good thing. I love that. But I also love JRPGs that are not really as popular, because today we are going over some hidden gems in the JRPG genre. Now, what do I consider a hidden gem? To me, it's a game that's not critically acclaimed, but it's also good. And if they had a little bit of more luck or marketing, they could have really taken off, but they didn't. Or the game came out in a month that a lot of more popular games come out. We've been seeing that a lot lately. This video, I'm gonna go over those JRPGs that went under the radar for one reason or another. Of course, before we start, if you end up liking this video, then please hit that like button, would appreciate it. And if you like this video and my other ones, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 11K by my birthday, which is June 14th, and I really hope we get there. And lastly, leave a comment down below. What are some hidden gems that I didn't mention that you think needs more attention? Oh wow, that actually rhymes. Alrighty, now with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. So the first game on this list is Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus. So Tokyo Xanadu is made by Falcom, and currently there is a sequel being developed called Kyoto Xanadu, and that game is what really got me to look into Tokyo Xanadu, because I want to play that one, but I also wanted to play the first game, so that's how I got into Tokyo Xanadu. Neo Falcom is a studio with a very small footprint in the mainstream. They have been making exceptional JRPGs since the 1980s with the Yeast series, but Tokyo Xanadu, on the other hand, was one of the most ambitious attempts to blend two very different genres into a single cohesive experience. To me, Tokyo Xanadu is a very fun game with a very addicting gameplay loop, and the story was really surprising to me. Now, some of it might be cliche or the typical JRPG storyline, but the story was still pretty solid. You play as Ko Tokishiya. He is an ordinary high school student that loves working part-time jobs. That aspect does tie to his overall story. It's just I found that really funny that he just loves working. And he also loves to help people, which is nice. But that quality helps start this whole adventure where he tries to help another student from, weirdo dudes, and then he is sucked into this new world. Because unbeknownst to most people, this city is actually being under siege by some mysterious invisible force, and it produces shadow monsters to go into the real world and do real damage. And only those with these special powers could defeat them. And this creates two very distinct modes of the game. First, you have the typical high school socializing aspect, and then at night, you have raiding dungeons and beating monsters. Does that sound familiar? Well, it should, because yeah, it's a lot like a Persona game. But I would say it's a bit different when you get to the details of it. It's just the overall aspect and structure of the game is a lot like Persona, which honestly is not a bad thing. Although the gameplay and the dungeon raiding was my favorite part. I don't know, something about just hacking and slashing in a dungeon while I just chill and listen to a video or a podcast is just like bliss to me. So the combat is very fast paced and element driven, where each character has their own elemental affinity and gameplay style. It plays a lot like the Yeast series. You can only have 3 characters per dungeon run, so you really gotta pick which party members are the best for this dungeon. Although for me, I kind of use the same 3 characters most of the time. The EX Plus version adds a ton more content to it, and quality of life changes. So if you're curious about Kyoto Xanadu and what it's all about, please try Tokyo Xanadu before it comes out. Next is Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. I haven't played the full game yet. I'm in the middle of the first one. The Suikoden series is actually a very old series, and it's a classic JRPG that has been brought back to life with the HD Remaster. The problem is though, not a lot of people know about it. Now, the unique thing about Suikoden is the way it subverted the whole JRPG formula. Suikoden is built on a single audacious idea. What if your JRPG party wasn't just 6 people or 4 people, but 108 people? And this unique mechanic is called the 108 Stars of Destiny, a vast roster of recruitable characters scattered across the world, and as you join, they populate the hub area to make it more lively. Now for the story, I'll keep it quick. The first Suikoden game follows the protagonist, Tyr McDowell. He is the son of a celebrated general hero who finds himself entangled in this rebellion against the Scarlet Moon Empire that he himself has been raised to serve. It's a very compact game and it gets its point across with a very small runtime, especially compared to its sequel. Now for the gameplay, each character equips runes that define their combat abilities, creating very interesting builds that you could customize. And again, you have 108 characters. Now Suikoden 1 wasn't very ambitious because they really didn't know how the game was going to do, but since it did really well, Suikoden 2 pushed it up a bit. Suikoden 2 is another political motivated adventure, but this time with two best friends, and each of them find each other on the opposite side of this whole mess. You know how it is. Again, I don't want to get too deep into the story because that's not what this video is about. I did a before you buy for this, so check that out if you want to. Now for the combat system in 2, again you have the 108 characters with large-scale army battles over the regular turn-based mechanic. And the shift for the gameplay style was brilliantly done in my opinion. It doesn't feel like it just came out of nowhere. So one moment you're managing a 6-person party, and then the next you are commanding armies. And I feel like the HD remaster really preserved the whole look of the game. I love it. It looks really nice and clean. And they added, of course, quality of life improvements. So all in all, I highly recommend Suikoden 1 and 2 if you want a more classical game. Another classic brought to life by its fandom is Lunar. So this collection includes Lunar, the first one, and Lunar 2. To me, both of the Lunar games kind of play like each other. They're not too different. And even though Lunar got a HD remaster, I still feel like this game is not really known to a lot of people. So I'm gonna go over the story, but again, I'm not gonna go too deep into it because this is not the video for that. But let's go over the first game story. Oh, and the first game is called Lunar the Silver Star. You play as Alex, a village kid who idolizes a legendary hero and decides he wants to be a hero too. In Lunar 2, the Eternal Blue, this is set 1,000 years in the future from the first game, and you play as Hiro, a young adventurer who pulls a mysterious girl named Lucia from an ancient ruin, and then he commits to save the world before he fully understands what that means. So yeah, the stories in the Lunar games are very traditional JRPG adventures with a unique sort of twist to it. But for me, what really makes these games work are the characters. Like, they feel like they generally really like each other, not there because they have to be there. The slice of life moments are very heartwarming. And yeah, in Lunar 2, there's this character, Lucia, I mentioned before. She has the whole I'm a fish out of water, which I generally don't like, but somehow it does work in this case. But with that being said, let's go over the combat. The combat across both titles is a turn-based RPG. It's very clean and polished, especially in the HD version, and there's mechanics like elemental affinities and different types of magic. That gives the magic system a little bit more texture. But yeah, this is not a unique game when it comes to the mechanics. I will say that. It's a lot like, you know, every other JRPG of its time. But what makes it really work are the characters and the story. And in this remastered HD collection, of course, there's gonna be, wait for it, quality of life improvements. Alrighty, so the next game is made by the people who make Atelier. So of course, yeah, it's gonna be on my radar. But what's the game? Blue Reflection. And yes, I was debating on whether to put an Atelier game, but since I've put an Atelier game in all the other lists, I decided to change it up a bit. And I'm so excited for the upcoming Blue Reflection Quartet bundle. But for this pick, it's just gonna be the first game, Blue Reflection. So Blue Reflection is a JRPG about female characters who have magical girl powers. As a fan of Sailor Moon, I freaking love that. So for the first game, you play as Hinako Shinai, but people call her by her nickname, Hinako. So Himiko was a former ballet teacher whose career-ending knee injury has left her adrift and devastated. But then she is recruited to become a reflector. A reflector is a magical warrior who can enter a surreal dreamscape called Common, and with this new job, she is given a new purpose. But the next question is, what are the Calm? Well, basically, the Calm is a realm shaped by human emotion. Its dungeons literally manifest from people's repressed feelings, fears, and unresolved pain. So yeah, it's also like Persona. And also, this game does alternate between school life and dungeon life. Again, like Persona. While the dungeons are in the Calm. Now for the gameplay, the combat is turn-based with a time manipulation aspect into it. So you could accelerate your party's action gauges, delay enemy turns, and chain abilities through a support system that lets allies follow up each other's attacks. packed. Now I will admit this game is not for everybody, but if you enjoy Atelier games and their little slice of life moments, I think you will enjoy Blue Reflection, and I'm really excited to pick up the game myself because I know I'm just gonna love it. Okay, so remember in the beginning where I said that I wanted to give you guys some games that fall off the radar? Well, I lied. I made this whole list just to talk about one game specifically. Alrighty, JK, that's not my reason. But the next game on the list is Final Fantasy Type 0. Yes, a Final Fantasy game that I love to bits. It's one of my favorite games that literally nobody likes or nobody knows about. And it makes me sad. I feel like Type 0 is very misunderstood. And that could be due in part that they packed in the demo for Final Fantasy 15 with it too. To me, Type 0 has to be one of the most rawest, realist stories out of all the Final Fantasy games. I mean, it was the first Final Fantasy to have the M rating. So the story is set in the world of Orient, a continent divided by 4 nations, each one magically bound by a crystal. Oh yeah, Final Fantasy Type 0 does tie into the lore of Final Fantasy 13, so there's gonna be C and C terms all around, but it tells its own story that's pretty heartbreaking. But anyways, this game follows Class 0, a squad of 14 elite candidates from the Vermilion Military Academy. So the way this whole world is set up, there's like 4 domains, and if any of them kind of go to war with another one, then they all go to war. So Class 0 find themselves at the center of this brutal war. Class 0 is different. I won't say why because a huge spoiler, but they're very special and very strong with their magic. And the way that this game opens is just like so iconic, but in a sad way. It basically takes place in the streets where everybody's dying left and right. Then we have a friend of the character literally risk his life to give a message to somebody, and yeah, he didn't make it. Even his chocobo died. It's pretty sad. Now for the gameplay. Essentially, you have 14 different protagonists. Yeah, some characters have more of an impact, but you can literally play as any character from your class. And each character has a unique combat system to them. Like, there's this one chick who plays the flute. That's her weapon. A freaking flute. But it's so hilarious because everything's going on, she just whips out a flute. Now, this game did come out for the PSP and then remade for console, so it does look a little crusty. The graphics aren't the best, but that's not the point. The story is where it's at. It's literally one of those hidden gems that I wish more people could play. I mean, that goes for all of the games on this list, but Type 0 most importantly. Now for the next game, Grim Grimoire Once More. This is a really niche game. It's made by Vanillaware, and everyone loves the Vanillaware art style. It's a very soft, pretty looking art style that you can see in all of their games. Now, Grim Grimoire was one of their earliest games. It was originally for the PlayStation 2, and it came out in 2007, and now it has a beautiful remaster. It's a real-time strategy game wrapped around a time loop mystery set in a magical academy. So for the story, you play as Lilette, a scholarship student who earns a place at the prestigious Silver Star Tower, a school for magicians. On her 5th day at the academy, something goes really wrong, and everyone in the building dies. But then Lilette wakes up, and it seems like it was nothing but a dream, but it wasn't. So she is basically in this time loop, but she has the memories of what happened in the previous loop. Yeah, this game is really unique. I love the story so much, with a cast of wonderfully weird characters. Now the gameplay is what makes this game extra different. This game is a real-time strategy JRPG with the magic system as its backbone. There are different schools of magic like Glamour, Necromancy, Sorcery, and Alchemy. And Grim Grimoire Once More does add a mechanic that lets you go back in time in the battle, which complements the whole time-traveling looping thing. So if you played 13 Sentinels, Unicorn Overlord, or Odin Spear, then Grimoire Once More is a great game. Now for the last game. This is a game that I'm currently streaming on my channel, so check those streams out if you want to. But this game is for Ys Memoirs of Celceta. But for the Switch one is Ys Memoirs Revelation in Celceta. I don't know why they changed the names, but let's roll with it. They're the same game. So I really wanted to add a Ys game because I love this series so much. I just finished Nordics 2, and that game is freaking fantastic. I recommend that if you want a more known Ys game, but for a niche Ys game, Memoirs of Celceta is a good pick. So both Memoirs of Celceta and Revelations in Celceta is actually a reimagining of Ys 6. But anyways, what is the story about? Well, basically, this game takes place After the events of Ys Nordics, which is Ys 10, after their long adventure in Ys Nordics, Adol comes staggering out of the Great Forest of Salsetta, the place where a lot of people go in but never come out. Well, luckily he came out, but just with scattered memories. So this is the only Ys game that Adol has amnesia. Now, the Great Forest of Salsetta is an uncharted jungle that has swallowed up previous attempts of exploration and map making. But the Roman Empire, wanting to capitalize on that, hires Adol to go back into the forest to map it out. But this is not just to map out the place and do the Romans' bidding. Adol actually wants to go back to recover his old memories that are scattered within the forest of Salsetta for some reason. So the whole gameplay loop is literally mapping out the forest of Salsetta, encountering things you didn't think were there, recovering his memories, rinse and repeat. And if you think that's boring, it really isn't. The game so far has been so fun, and it's just very satisfying to fill up that map. Overall, the exploration is very fascinating and fun. Now for the combat, which is the best aspects of Ys games. So Ys games are always action RPGs, and Salsetta is like all the other ones. It's a very good traditional Ys action JRPG. Admittedly so, I'm not really that deep into it, so there might be mechanics that I'm missing, but from what I've been playing, it's really solid. My problem is it's mostly dodging. Dodging kind of sucks. But there are good things in this game. So with Ys Memoirs of Salsetta, it uses a party-based real-time action system where you control one of the characters and direct the other ones via AI. And then you could just switch to each character on the fly. So the combat is nothing special, but it does have its unique things to it. I highly recommend Ys Memoirs Revelations in Salsetta. This game has been awesome so far, and I really want to play more. But I can't because I have to wait to stream. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Found some really good hidden gems in this list. If you have any hidden gems that you will want to recommend, then please let me know in the comments down below. Please hit that like button if you ended up liking the video, and consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed. I'm trying to get to 11k by June 14th, which is my birthday, and I would love to get there. And also hit that hype button if you want to. You can follow me on my socials in the description down below. I hope you guys have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day, and as always, play a good game. Peace.